PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5.
Crypto.
Hola.
Awesome night.
Awesomeness. I called it first.
You did call it first. So what happens now?
I think our listeners must think we're very silly, but we're
You think
very
so?
serious. We are nothing to be messed with. We're Wu-Tang Clan. Clang. Is it Clang?
It's Wu-Tang Clan.
It's Clan.
Yes, ain't nothing to mess with.
Ain't nothing to mess with. We're not silly. You got that wrong.
Yeah, right?
We are serious. Here to drop knowledge.
Drop knowledge.
Ashley, just to talk to you all. We're happy that you're here. You've joined us. We thank you for coming back each week and entertaining with us. You're entertaining us, and hopefully we're entertaining you. And we're giving us, something to think about. Hopefully you too.
No, completely.
Something to take with you through the week and consider. So, yes.
And it's something that's a little bit, fun for us is to hang out with our Interflex friends and, talk about a couple of things that we wanted to chat with you about.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. It's just
as always.
It's funny because
although it'll be a little bit of a shorter show tonight because we're starting a little late.
Yeah, we are starting a little late. We apologize for that. Eventually, we're gonna get.
No, this is all part of the plan, Fletcher. Why are you making it seem like what is going on? I thought we talked about this.
All right.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This week's charity is the Hermits.
A wonderful charity, you all.
Carmel.
Do you have a way to show a little bit about these brothers?
Yeah.
They are also not to be messed with. They are nothing to mess with. They are not playing.
They are very
they are not out here playing.
That's the what we take from it, right?
What did you say?
I said they're not to be messed with. They
are really not to be messed with. So I don't know if Fletcher can bring it up, but in the meantime, I'll tell anyone listening. Basically, these brothers, they are Christians they're men who live in community out in the woods like Christ in the wilderness. So they model their lives after that period of time in which Jesus Christ went out for 40 days before he went to the cross, out there fasting, just being tempted by the evil one that followed him out there, the demons. They said Satan, tempted him so bad that after it was over, the angel had to come and comfort him. It's all in your Bible. Look in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I don't know if John covers it. And basically out there is where he gained the insight, the strength. It was like his period of darkness before he got ready to, as he said, turn his face like flint to Jerusalem and then hit the cross. And so these men, and it's not unusual in the church for people to have certain, as we say, charisms or gifts. So right. Certain things that God has put on their heart to do that's not for everybody to do. It's not required. It's not necessarily even encouraged. But like a lot of monks in the past, they have taken themselves out to be in the wilderness with very little food. They fast a lot. They pray and they work. And it's in the line of someone like Saint Benedict, who I think in the 12th century was one who kind of modeled this way of being. Like he just went out to the woods, to the wilderness, praying, fasting, working. And eventually people found him out there and wanted to join him. So even though he wanted to just be alone and be a hermit, right. Which is the term that the Catholic Church came up with, hermit. We now use it in a kind of negative way, but it originally is positive. And there's still people who are hermits, meaning they just want to be with Jesus alone, with God alone, doing what they want. So as you're showing us some things now about their life, Fletcher?
Yeah, so 12 a.m. they rise, and then they, they do their matins and louds. By candlelight.
And these are prayers. These are called part of the divine office that everybody who is a clergy person in the church, whether nun or priest, has to do every day. It usually consists of prayers from the Bible. So you have to say out loud the Psalms, parts of the New Testament, parts of the Old, and they have names based on the time of day that you say them, so that you're praying all day long. And it's not just our crescent moon brothers and sisters who's supposed to pray several times a day. We do too. All right, go on, Fletch. It's us too.
Yeah, us too. Then we have the mental player at 1:45 a.m.
Mental prayer. It's like you said, mental player.
Nah, that's
player.
Then they finally rise at 6 a.m. And if you've seen this, this is they do have community, they have livestock. This is Colorado. These guys are not wearing like, full parkas and all that kind of stuff. They literally, have a habit. And so then they have their mental prayer. And
yeah, like when you say habit, you mean they have some people don't know those words, Fletcher, especially if you're not Catholic. So habit doesn't mean like the way we use that word typically, which means some kind of practice that you have that's not good for you, that you can't break. Right. A habit is not a costume, but a garment that people in the church wear, whether that's a nun or a priest, that they don't wear their own clothes. They wear clothes that have been issued to them that are in uniform, like with everybody else. That's your habit.
Yeah, and if you've seen all this as I'm going through them, they are basically, it's almost like living in medieval times.
Yeah.
This is like real cosplay, right?
But it's for real.
It's for real. They don't mess around. And literally, there's one brother who you can contact. He's really great. If you want a change in your life and you want something to break, I suggest sending them a request. Anything that you give is also helpful, but not required. But just
absolutely. And Fletcher's so right. Like, if honestly, we've said this before when we had the nuns as our charity that time, the role of the cloistered people, that means they are away from the world, nuns or priests, or in this case, monks, hermits. They stand for the discalced hermits of Mount Carmel. That's what you're saying, of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. That's the Latin, Eremitiae Discalciti Domine Nostre de Monte Carmelo. Okay, basically that is the discalced hermits of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, of the Lord. I think my Latin's a little rusty, but basically what that means, discalced means barefoot. And they may not be literally barefoot, but what that means, although sometimes they are, and in some cases they are required not to have shoes, but usually what it means is they take a vow of poverty. So they are out there making their own living, feeding themselves the best they can, making things and praying for the world. That's their calling. So these nuns and priests who don't have real jobs like in the world, they usually are fasting and praying literally on their face hours a day for peace in the world, for people who send them requests like, problems with your marriage, with your job, with your children, with your health, you name it. And they will literally be praying for you. And so they do ask for alms. And this is about the time we're going into Lent. So, and for a lot of people, not just Catholics, observe Lent is the period of time before Easter. Like Jesus, you go into the wilderness for 40 days, in the church. And I know Episcopalians do this. I have friends who do that, Lutherans who do it. And I've even had people who are in non-denominational churches do it. So they'll give up meat, perhaps, or they'll give up candy, or something like eggs or sweets, or going to the movies or TV, coffee, which is a hard one. Anything that they can actually offer to the Lord for a kind of powerful prayer, and also combine it normally with some kind of alms giving, which is another word of saying you give to charity, you give to people who can use it. And these people, these men here can use it. They depend on the alms of people. They do that on purpose to have humility.
Right.
And as the Bible says, when you fast and pray, you can cast out demons. And the Catholic Church has always understood that as fasting with no food, but also other kinds of things you may give up, and also giving to someone. Because when you give alms, you're taking away. So if you say, I'm not going to have Starbucks today, I'm going to give that $5 towards, at the end of the time, I'll give, the brothers, $500, because that's what it adds up to every day.
Right.
With your $10 habit, that's alms. Okay. That's another kind of fasting. So, Yeah, and as Lady Jen tells us, yes, Lent this year begins on March 5th, which is in a few days. So
Right.
if you so Fletcher, one thing that one of the brothers, so usually with these people who are cloistered, the men here or the nuns who do it, they have one person or sometimes two who is not fully cloistered, who can talk to the world. A lot of these guys take vows of silence. They won't talk to you. They can't talk to anybody. They're out there. It's just them and God. They don't want to get back into the world and have their focus divided, but they have somebody usually who can do things like talk to the people who, have vendors, or like you see, they build things. They sometimes do tasks like that to help them make money. There are some who make like caskets. I don't think it's this one. It's not ghoulish. But one of the brothers who I spoke to said that right now, in particular, they are taking requests. So if you write to them, they do read letters. They're allowed to read letters, and ask them for something. Ask them for something big. Maybe there's some problem that you have never been able to overcome. Maybe there's a bad habit that you have. Maybe you have some kind of friction in your family. Maybe
Right.
you're trying to, buy a house. Maybe there's something big. Ask them for it, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to go crazy right now. They might not eat for the whole 40 days. That's not unheard of. And they will pray that whole time, praying, crying out to God for your intention, for the thing you asked them for. And if it's God's will, oh my gosh. I mean, you have 30 men in community praying, giving up everything in the world, no family life, completely celibate, no TV, no cell phone, no nothing,
No
out in the
distractions.
woods, no shoes in many cases, praying and fasting for you. And, you can support them. So there
No,
you go.
totally, yeah. Now, not only does Lent begin, we got Ramadan right around the corner for our cousins. It's literally like, I think it starts tomorrow,
Oh, no
I
kidding.
believe.
Really?
Yeah,
So
so
soon? I
this
didn't know
this year
that.
Ramadan is from February 28th to 29th.
Oh,
So
it's quick. So
yeah.
do wish your Muslim brothers and sisters a blessed Ramadan, or Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Karim to all
Madam
our,
Kareem, yeah, which is
and
a nice way of saying like a generous Ramadan. And they have a
yes,
very similar tradition of fasting, praying, and almsgiving. So I think we're
alms.
about to have God's about to do something, because if everybody is turning to Him in some kind of way, a lot of people, man, I don't know, maybe some things can happen. I know that
Amen.
President Trump's trying to broker peace deals.
I know. Then
I don't know
that,
what he's up to. You
imagine,
gotta tell us what he's
please.
up to, Fletcher.
Please pray for President Trump, President Zelensky, President Putin, and all of the EU for that to happen, because, oh my gosh, we really need that war to end and senseless violence to end. But we got Admiral Ting, brother in the house. ¿Qué pasó,
Whoop,
Cuba?
whoop.
It's your fellow New Yorker. We got the big balls. Latino Santa said, Big Ursula. Yeah, it's Big Ursula. When you
What's
go like
up?
that, boom, Big Ursula.
That's right.
Large in the charge.
That would be grand. Grand.
And Lady
Grand
Jen
Don.
says, hey, prettiest. I think she's talking to you.
Oh, thank you. No, I think she's
Yeah.
talking to you.
No way. No, I'm the backup
Are
talent.
you the
Is that both
prettiest?
kinds of Muslims? Yes.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
all Muslims.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I
That's
think
all.
all of
I
them.
think like only one sect, I think, has the difference of the dates, kind of like we do with the Orthodox Church, right?
But that's about to change. I know that there was the Vatican was trying to I think the Vatican was trying to make sure we regularized it, because there's some Orthodox Christians or whatever are a little bit off from ours, and I think we were trying to coordinate to make sure we all celebrate Easter the same day, because it's the same. It's always within a couple days of each other. It's not
a couple of days
a
within
big
each other,
deal,
and
but to
I
make it
believe they
closer.
were almost brokering a deal. So yeah, it looked like the deal was about to be brokered, which is funny. This kind of stuff that we do, but it is true.
I appreciate that Latino Slant said he just came off a fast. What?
That is good.
That's right, boss. Boss slant. Love it. It broke his
Yeah,
fast.
man,
Beautiful
it's
stream, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
no, it really do. But
And
a
it is
fast is
amazing. It
amazing.
is amazing. Listen, it's not easy, by the way. I bet
Nope.
Latino Slant can tell us it's not easy. 2 days is really impressive. It's not easy. God has to
Right.
take you through it. And that's one of the reasons you do it, because we do need food, and definitely God understands that, and that's how we were designed. But to give it up to the extent that you're capable of doing so physically, you still need a lot of spiritual support because the human body, the mind, you just like, I want that food. Even if you
Right.
can survive, which most of us can, if you're healthy, you have enough that you can survive without eating for a bit. It's hard to do without him. And that's what it's about. So it turns your mind away from worldly things to godly things. And that's
Right.
why it's so effective.
No, completely.
So good for him. And I thank you, Admiral Teague, for prayers for the Holy Father. Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so
Well,
much.
I do have good news on that.
Do you?
Yeah. So this is our Pope. Yeah. So obviously the prayers are working. He's doing a lot better. A friend of mine did post this. And the funny thing is, I won't play the music, but the music that he played with this is "Don't Call It a Comeback." Been in for years.
That's awesome. That's so perfect.
That's so
Don't
perfect.
call it a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback.
That's
It's,
funny. That's funny.
LL Cool Pope is. Yes,
Yeah,
it
I mean,
looks like-
regardless of how you feel about him, I know some people have issues with him, and I don't blame
of
them. But you
course.
know what? We don't want people just to die. We want God to keep him here as
We
long
wanna
as
keep him here as
possible.
long as possible.
Let God fill his days with what he wants for him to do. And it's a constant conversion. You're never there, right?
No.
It says in the Bible to work out your faith with fear and trembling. So you're every day you're working this thing out until you're called home. So I'm happy that it worked out for him. I don't want him to go out like
Amen.
that.
And Lady Jess has just watched The Passion every time. No, that's a me too. Literally every single time. But if since we were watching the Cloistered Monks, which is our charity for this week. If I did watch this, lovely Ursula had me watch it. It's fascinating, by the way. It's called Integrate Silence. It's a movie about some cloister monks.
Are you seriously telling people about this after you complained about it all the time, Fletcher?
I do. They're in the French Alps.
You're kidding me right now.
And I'm just putting it out there. If you want to kind of like watch something related to monks and stuff like that, I can highly recommend Integrate Silence.
You all, this is a fantastic movie, and maybe we have to get Fletcher to do like an actual review, because
I should do.
I would love to have him do one, because he's kind of our film buff. I love this film. I saw this film before we were ever known to each other, and I said, look, this is a great film. He complained the entire time because literally it's like a 3-hour film of mostly silence. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. Why would I do that? Okay, but you know what? It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it is very entertaining. Trust me, you don't realize the time is going. It's very meditative.
And the funny thing is, even though it's so quiet, it's haunting. It's completely haunting. I mean, it's so haunting. I mean, a lot of people don't realize
haunting. It makes it sound like it's a horror movie. It's not.
No. I'm just saying that it's haunting. In the true sense of the word, like it has that lighting, that beautiful like French cinema door.
It has that.
You will get
beguiling.
Yes, it's beguiled. You will get enthralled with the different brothers, and I mean, you're following them along, and it's very moving. It's very moving.
Yeah, it is. And it's meditative. Like I was about to say, if you are doing some kind of observance during Lent or during Ramadan, or anything similar, you might do your own thing. Maybe you're not part of either of those faiths, but you want to do something. It's a great film to just chill out with. so many films require so much noise and movement and constant, action and so forth. This is a film that's really worth your time. It's beautifully directed and written and acted. Though it's no actors, it's kind of a documentary, but not. It's hard to explain. It's a project, and it took place in a monastery. And it was, I think it was a German film crew.
It's Philip Groening.
Okay, yeah. Philip Groening.
I don't do the tilde.
Groening.
Groening.
Die große Stille.
Ja, sprechen Sie Deutsch. No, sprechen Sie Deutsch
okay.
on the channel, all right?
Where is it available, Fletcher? Can people just get this anywhere?
You know what? It should be available anywhere. It's an old film. It's from what is it? Let's see. It was 2005. It should be available in like most places. I think. Let's see. Where does it say it's available? Of course, it's not helpful because
it's okay. I think if you look around, you should be able to.
You should be able to find it. I mean,
you should be able to find it. It's about 20 years old though now, so it's really a wonderful.
I believe it's in Prime Video.
Yeah, it's okay. You should be able to.
So it should be in Prime.
Yeah,
but you know what? Prime Video hates it so much. It must be because they don't even have the. So I guess you can stream it for free in Prime Video.
Okay, sounds good.
Highly recommend it. It's even if you just want to play it in the background, to get like all the bad juju out of the house.
Yeah,
I recommend it.
But
I don't know. Speaking of bad juju,
okay, that's a segue.
That's a segue. So we did have this whole. I don't know what the heck are we gonna call it? Can we call it the thing that it is, or
I think we'll just say the list.
The list. All right. So they just get a list from the one dude. So I guess a lot of things is happening around this whole release of the list, and this is what they were saying on the news.
Last night on Jesse Waters Prime Time, Attorney General Pam Bondi said this.
What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
So we were looking today to find out more about why the government's been so suspiciously protective of Jeffrey Epstein. This afternoon, a bunch of conservative influencers left a meeting at the White House with binders that said the Epstein files, phase 1. Once the binders were opened, people were able to see flight records.
But I mean, right away, that one, I think that's what the heading of the thumbnail is for today, because to me, this felt like the most tone deaf thing that this administration has done. And you know me, I'm a big supporter.
Okay, why don't you explain why you think so? So what is it that you had a hard time with? Why don't you start with what you think is positive and then say what you think wasn't so great?
Okay, the fact that they're actually talking about it and actually doing something about it, to me, it's positive. I don't know why there was such secrecy around this thing. I know a lot of influential people were talking about it. All the things online were saying, oh, this guy's on the flight log, and that was, I mean, there was so many things. I mean, it's just content for days about this thing. And just to showcase it like this, I mean, I have no problem. I personally don't think I follow any of this conservative side of the media. I don't know, the Servovich, is that how you say his name? DC Drano,
something like that,
stuff.
I think.
Yeah, Lips of TikTok and Liz Wheeler and all that stuff. I mean, we post some stuff and like some of their stuff, but I don't think I follow them for the style of things like this, this is supposed to be like the conservative media. It's just, to me, it just feels like they're out there, they're holding it up. And today, I think Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers were out there saying they just look like they got their brand new PlayStation, right? And they're like, I just got my PlayStation. And now memes are being made and all kinds of stuff because it's like look at it, it's so tone deaf to be holding information. You got a hat, right? And you got your folder of what? PDF file information?
Yeah.
And you're holding it like it's some kind of Christmas gift?
Yeah, I agree.
This is, to me, is the most tone deaf. Most, like, it just, to me, it felt like heinous and very, how can I say this? It was very ghoulish.
Yeah.
I would say, to me, this is ghoulish.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, you can take it any way you want to. To me, I felt like this was pretty ghoulish, and I don't think that it should be done this way, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we had a lot of information about this. A lot of people were talking about this. I mean, it's been years for us to even get to this point, and I can understand people taking a victory lap in a sense. But this, to me, I feel is ghoulish.
Yeah.
People can have other opinions to it, but to me, I felt like this was just done. It was done poorly.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't like the optics. I think this is the biggest fail of the Trump administration.
So would you have preferred for him not to have released it to them? I don't really understand what happened anyway. Is it that these conservative pundits, influencers, podcasters were able to come and get copies at the time?
Yeah.
You would prefer them not to do it that way?
No, I think, I prefer that it would be done like officially. Like if anybody holding the list, Pam Bundy, Kash Patel, I mean, somebody who's official, not this, this feels like a little bit of a clown, like a clown thing or something. I mean, I could be wrong. But that's kind of like what I feel. It just feels like it's a little bit of a troll in a sense. And while I do fully endorse the trolling that has been happening by the administration, I don't feel like this is the place for this. Me, I'm very prudish on certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this one I feel like it doesn't has the gravitas to
but is that really a Trump miss, or is it just these so-called conservative miss? Because maybe you come out not smiling when you're talking about really innocent lives that were destroyed, that are between those pages in a sense. It's not their names, but it's the people who, partook of their misery and caused it to some extent. Couldn't they come out maybe looking a little more serious than like the way they're looking? You're right. I mean, that's not a good image. You would never, if you had to, caption this and say, hey, what do you think just happened? Yeah, you're going to think, hey, they just got their tickets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like somber, and like they should look a kind of, a kind of grim seriousness. Like, we're going to do something for this. Like this is what we're here for, to bring justice, to shed light in the darkness, to, have the best antiseptic, which is sunlight on a situation. They don't seem, that is kind of a triumphalism, but it's more giddy, and it's not appropriate for the circumstances. But I don't know. I'll play devil's advocate here. I think President Trump and his administration wanted to be sure to put this information. I mean, again, I don't know what it says. Hopefully we can get into that and talk about that later this week with our listeners, or at least by next week. But I think he wanted to put it in the hands of the people as much as he could. He couldn't just give it to lay people, but he figured, I'll give it to people who are supposed to be good with media. These are people who already have a following and who are sensitive to conservative issues, as opposed to trying to hide things, which we have seen a lot with the Democrats, honestly.
No, truly. But this was also part of the thing that was kind of foul. So this is the House Judiciary Committee of the GOP, and they basically released this. It's like breaking, files released, right? And then they shared a link, and the link provided does not contain the files. It's a link to getting rickrolled. It's like, are we 5 years old with this? This is, I understand
That's pretty
the
weird.
gag.
I mean, is this like somebody's idea
This
of
is
a
the
sick
official
joke?
site.
Is it really, or is it something
Yes,
that's
you
been
see
taken
that. You
over?
see the thing right here, that the gray little mark. That means it's official. This is actually a government agency.
Wow, I think that's a little bit weird.
That's ghoulish as heck.
I mean, it's it's a little frivolous. I mean, everybody knows what rickrolled means, or if you don't, you should get with it. It's this song that's really funny. We probably can't play it because this platform is really maniacal, even when you are permitted to do it, because you have something called fair use. But we don't want to be. I guess we could probably play a couple seconds of it.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to take a chance. But
So
basically, it's a song that is kind of a joke. And so if this is, what's coming up when you ask about it, it does seem a little,
that to me is ghoulish.
untoward. Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't
it's untoward, uncouth. And I was
yeah.
And
It's
I agree
something
with
not
you.
too
At
cool
least
about
it's
it.
happening, right? At least it's happening.
Yeah.
We'll
I
see
know. I mean,
what's
something's happening.
Something's happening. But it is the skeevies on it. Yeah.
I mean, something's happening. I mean,
something's happening. Well, let's see what they're trying to say here on Fox.
Epstein's Rolodex and a list of masseuses. The masseuses' names were blacked out, and the information from the flight logs wasn't new. Neither was the Rolodex. When we began to feel duped, Pam Bondi released a letter that says, basically, I was duped too. In the letter addressed to FBI.
So this is the thing. So when
what's
everybody
going on?
started
This doesn't
going
sound
on
great.
yeah, it doesn't sound
It doesn't
great.
sound great.
It
I'm not
doesn't
gonna lie.
sound
You're right.
great.
It doesn't sound great.
Looked like it looked like it was not really what people were talking about. And it was like, wait a minute. We weren't getting what we were promised. And that's,
so what is it that was gotten? I mean,
that's what it is.
They're
they're saying that what we got was basically redacted. And then Pam Bondi, basically, a lot of people are saying the FBI is still holding back. Right? So I think Pam Bundy
what's on this list?
Right? I mean, it's just
what's
insane.
On this list.
So I guess it was redacted. We just got basically stuff that we had before. Now Pam Bundy reached out, and it's like, we're getting not the real list. So
he began to feel duped. Pam Bondi released a letter that says, basically, I was duped too. In the letter addressed to FBI Director Kash Patel, Bondi basically says, I asked you for the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. I received 200 pages of documents. I asked if these were all the documents, and the FBI said yes. Late yesterday, I learned from a source at the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation.
Now, just that alone.
There's something weird about all of this, actually.
Right? So basically, she asked for all the documents. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we gave you all the documents. I mean, we had a trial. Like I said, this is a trial that went out already. It already happened. Supposedly, the people already got charged and all this kind of stuff. But everybody's been requesting a lot of this material. And this is, I mean, she's the Attorney General. Right? Yeah. Now, I can see Kash Patel. He's just got in there like what? How long? Like a few days ago. Right?
Yeah.
But this is concerning.
And the indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the evidence of these files. Bondi's demanding by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning that the FBI deliver everything to her office, including all records, audio, video recordings, all materials related to Epstein. And she ensures DOJ will disclose everything. And she's directing Patel to begin an immediate investigation into why the FBI isn't following orders.
Right?
So
because they have not been following.
Who's withholding
Seems like
Epstein
they've been
docs
doing
the
whatever
Attorney
they
General.
want to do.
Right?
James Dennehy is running the show there. There he is. This is the guy who emailed his whole staff to dig in after Trump took office.
Wow.
And don't forget that James Comey's daughter is an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. She worked on the Epstein and Maxwell case.
Wow. So Fox not messing around on this one. I mean, usually they tiptoe around certain things, but
Yeah, they do.
it's
cases. She's kind of knee deep in this. Epstein was facing sex trafficking charges in Lower Manhattan. Where's all that paperwork? The FBI seized computers, surveillance videos, banking records, file cabinets, and photographs from all of Epstein's properties in New Mexico, the Virgin Islands, Palm Beach, and in New York. The Justice Department also gave Epstein a sweetheart non-prosecution deal 17 years ago. Where are those files? The Bureau of Prisons. Where are those files? You remember where Epstein killed himself? I asked Bill Barr about that, why everything seemed to go wrong that night.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard all the information and all the coincidences here, I was suspicious.
What were the coincidences? I mean, those were a lot of coincidences.
right.
Well, one of
That's
the
a lot.
cameras was out.
Right.
He was supposed to have a cellmate. The cellmate left. They didn't replace the cellmate. And the guards who were supposed to check him every half hour didn't check him.
My EMT source said he was on the scene immediately to pull Epstein's body out to the morgue. And when he got to the cell, he saw 7 people there touching Epstein's body and moving stuff around.
Yeah, you're breaking protocol. Well, how are you gonna? That's a crime scene, basically.
Right.
It's just insane.
Did
And
say
they would
during
know
the
better.
campaign he'd release
Right?
these files, so it's not like
Yeah.
this came out of the blue. Jeffrey Epstein did act as an informant to the FBI. Is the Bureau embarrassed? Is
Right.
the Bureau embarrassed that they let hundreds of young victims down? This was all happening right under everyone's noses.
And I guess that's the thing, right? I mean, who
Yeah.
knew about this? It's just, this whole thing is creepy. This thing is creepy with this whole thing. And I agree with Lady Jen. It's just the skeevies. I mean, we talked about it basically because it's so, I wanted to say, bad on the administration for handling the way they handled this. If they can bring it back, it looks like they're trying to correct it by, maybe tomorrow morning. People are already saying some information is already going out. I'm not going to dig into it. Like a lot of this stuff freaks me out to begin with because it's so visceral and horrendous and heinous. But at least on this one, we just showed you that, hey, there's something going on here. There's stuff being released and things is getting done. Like Lady Jen said, Team Pam is actually getting something done. So we're really
I
excited
think,
for that.
to be honest with you, I thought it was too big of something to take on for the administration this early.
Yeah.
That is something that maybe they could have done when they had a little bit more of a handle on what's happening. I know it was a high priority for a lot of people, but I also thought, maybe it could wait. And it looks to me like maybe they did take on too much, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we'll totally see. It's a wild ride. Definitely, it's a wild ride. But it's been a wild ride recently for it's just the administration. This one has been. There is so much going on, right? I mean, lately we just send each other stories, and it's just insane how many stories there's been that are just what happened next, right? Those kind of like interesting type of tales to where you're kind of going, wait a minute, did you see what just happened? Did you see what just happened, right? And we're like, what? It's just been going nuts. So this just happened the other day, and the left has been freaking out about Elon Musk attending this cabinet meeting, and just the internet just was scariating them. And I think you watched it live. I watched a few of the recordings, And I know you were telling me that you weren't a fan of Mr. Musk attire in some of these meetings, right?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think it was kind of a bold choice on President Trump's part to even have him there. I mean, you have so many of these, people who already are not fans of the Trump administration saying that, Musk is unelected, that he has this undue influence over President Trump, that he's, President Musk, that, he is kind of unaccounted for, a bureaucrat, but a billionaire. And then he shows up at a cabinet meeting. He's not a member of the cabinet. And yeah, kind of, in your face, I'm going to wear my like dark MAGA hat and my dark MAGA outfit. Every single other person's in a suit and tie. And then he comes in there and then he stands and he starts, I think there were some good moments. I do think President Trump did let it be clear, like, Musk serves at his pleasure. He's not on his own. He's not unhinged. He's doing what he's been asked to do, and that people in that room approve of it. But it's, I think President Trump is definitely walking the line.
No, it's completely. And I think that some of the gags are working, like this one. I think this gag actually works because he's actually giving you information. He's actually there for, like you said, he has got a t-shirt with the tech support on it, right? And this whole thing has been blowing up. A lot of people have been like just kind of crazy on this thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. I think it was nice to see President Trump with his cabinet, because it kind of feels like you have been watching these auditions, and suddenly all the actors are in the same room at the table. You're seeing it kind of start to come together and start to see how maybe this makes sense with some of his picks and with the kinds of things they were saying. You had, I forget his name, he's the Secretary of Commerce, Howard, I'm going to say it wrong, Linston, I'm not even close. You had Pete Hegseth there. You had that the head of the HUD, the HUD guy, who, by the way, one of the most startling but also kind of precious moments is that they decided to start with prayer. And I've never seen that. They had the black man who is, I guess, head over the housing authority, HUD, I think it's called, Housing and Urban Development. I mean, someone correct us in the chat if you know the true title for that acronym. But he prayed. They all bowed their, and everyone really did it. They literally all bowed their heads and they all looked really into it and sincere, and said a rather lengthy prayer to invoke God's blessing over their meeting. I have never seen that on anything.
It's funny because you
ever.
were listening to it like at high volume. And I think I was in the kitchen at the time, and I'm like thinking, I thought you were watching Trump, give his speech, and you're like, yeah, they're literally praying and invoking the name of God. I was like, what? This is it. Oh, look, Lady Jen also watched it and thought it was lovely, and yeah, we agree. Trump is keeping voters on their toes. It is gorgeous. It's just it's like, man, it's like, he had Elon in there, and he says it's important, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Doge is important. I think it was nice to hear Musk talk about what he's doing. And he explains that it was really fun too, because there were some questions from reporters that were mildly impertinent, and Trump just put them down. He's like, how many times do I have to tell you, no, we're not cutting Social Security. We're trying to get rid of fraud. We're not saying that people won't have it. We're not saying that, at least not for anytime soon. Nobody who's eligible is going to not get it. I think I've told you that before. And what I like is everybody in the room backed it up. They were really trolling the media back. There was some comment that JD Vance, of course, Vice President Vance, was in there and said something like, the president has already said. They keep asking questions about some of the negotiation tactics he has. And he's like, Vance said, he's not going to discuss that with you all. You'll find out, and I like that because it does show a more cohesive front than I think he may have had the first time around, which I think is better for the country, honestly, because, the divisiveness of the lamestream media, I mean, honestly, they're not for us. They're not real. They they have the chance to ask questions, and they still do things that are meant just to show off. So I'm still not for them. Even today, when President Trump hosted the Prime Minister of, the United Kingdom of England, there were questions that were clearly gotcha things. And I think it was great because in that moment, England and President Trump stood firm and said, we're not going to answer that. You're just trying to divide us. And that's literally what the Prime Minister of England, what's his name? I'm forgetting now. I feel bad about that. I literally know this.
Keir Stammer.
That sounds right. Yeah, that's right. And he said, I'm not going. Yeah, there it is. President Trump shuts down fake news attempt. This is Red State, of course, to sow division during presser with UK PM Starmer. And here's the thing. It really was very, very clear. It was like, you can't like Trump because he said, da, da, da. And it's like, look, that's not what this meeting is about. They're not going to, obviously see eye to eye on everything, but what they're agreeing about here is how to deal with trying to have a situation of resolving the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And the Prime Minister is saying, I'm on board with trying to help, and we're here for you, United States. We're on board with the approach you're taking. So I think that's a big sign for those who are naysayers, because so many people think that Trump is this madman and he's out there doing wild things. But so far this week, we've had the, President of France and now the Prime Minister of England come through and say, we're on board with what you're doing. They don't have to do that, just so that people know there's a sovereign nations. So, and then, they tried to shame, this Prime Minister by saying, what does England think about President Trump trying to take Canada and make it a 51st state? Isn't that, an English territory? And he says, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm here to talk about, we had a great talk, President Trump and I. We had a wonderfully productive and cheerful and I think, understanding kind of meeting. And I'm not even going to address that. And I thought that was great. And so did Trump, who kind of echoed that sentiment. So I don't know why you're going to make it about you. You're in a chance to do a press release, ask questions that are going to help elucidate your readers, not try to, throw shade. But there's a lot of shade throwing.
Well, that's what it's been like recently. Just they're trying to get them in catches. And I think that's what the administration is doing, a lot of stuff to kind of like almost like troll them back,
Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy with the way things were going, and if so, what are you doing to address those any dissatisfaction?
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. If you are, we'll throw them out of here.
I don't know if people can hear it. It's a little low, but I can tell you a little bit what they said. It doesn't matter what the reporter said. What's more interesting is what President Trump said, because they asked Elon a question and Elon goes to start answering it. And President Trump says, Elon, let the cabinet actually speak sometimes, okay? And they all laughed. He goes, I know. They said, I know what the reporter said. He says, what if you are not performing satisfactorily? What if you're not doing a good job? And he starts to talk and President Trump says, let the cabinet speak. And they all start laughing. And then President Trump says, literally, if you're not doing a good job, you will be out of here. Like you'll be out on your butt.
You'll be out on your butt. That's the thing. That's what we wanted. And this was a lot of vitriol. All the talking heads, should we say, they're trying to make it seems like, that Elon Musk is, out of the ordinary to attend a cabinet meeting, though it's not part of the cabinet. This is what oligarchy looks like. Elon Musk is not presiding in the cabinet meeting. They're not meeting the co-president allegations. The co-president might be put in a terrorist trap, and all this kind of like vitriol and all that stuff. Then people hit back. September 2024, Jill Biden was not part of the cabinet either. She would like to sit on the cabinet meeting. But nobody said nothing about that.
That's a really good point. I love when people are able to do these historical checks. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's really foolish to think that President Trump listens to anybody but President Trump.
Right.
At the end of the day, he did campaign on the very things he's having Musk do. And Musk was not somebody who, was important to this until President Trump called him into it. So I know that some might have some real concerns thinking about that. I really don't. I think you have to be aware that when someone is president, just like if somebody runs a business, they do have to rely on other people who are experts in things, right? I mean, if you run, no matter what it is, maybe you run a restaurant, like you're not going to, be the one also, fixing the fry machine or whatever. Like you're going to have to call in people to help you do things, right? If you need to have your refrigerators looked at, the cooling systems, or have someone, it's all kinds of people. So the idea that somehow he is running a co-president when he is providing a service to the president who has asked him to do so, it's kind of absurd, really. It just makes me think you don't really have a lot of experience in organizational management.
It's just crazy. I mean, I think some of the people were talking about that we don't want Elon Musk to have all our information and all this kind of stuff. But I'm like, yeah, but you're fine giving it to what, like Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and all those kind of like organizations who have lost all your information, by the way, and all kinds of stuff that ridiculous things, and other organizations like all those college, loan places and all this kind of stuff that have literally lost all your information and leaked it out there, but that was okay. It's like, yeah, is there something that could be done better? Of course. Is the country in dire straits where we definitely just need to get down to, like they say, brass tacks and just get some of this stuff done? Because, I mean, as we covered last week on it, it's, the massive fraud is insane and something has to be done. And it's not going to get any better by letting it rest. I think it gets better by actually exercising it out of the White House. But what looks to be something that we definitely needed to exercise, and it looked like it happened. So, Pentagon orders discharge of transgenders. Now, this to me was unusual because I know they've been talking about it. How they were going to do it, I did not know. Because I was a little bit like, how are they going to do that? Because
I'm not sure still. I mean, I think the order is that they have to depart the military in 30 days because, as what I read, it said the United States government has determined, which, by the way, everyone accepted readily until just a few years ago, that there are only two sexes, male and female. And so my understanding is that the order was, if you cannot comport yourself to your sex, then you must leave. Here it is. The department only recognizes two sexes, male and female, and individual sex is immutable, unchanging during a person's life. All service members will only serve in accordance with their sex, defined in the Executive Order 14168, which President Trump signed, defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government as, quote, an individual's immutable biological classification as either male or female. And so that is what the rule is now. I mean, that's the Department of Defense is not recognizing the so-called, transformer. And so they will have to go. So now they would have to also comport with the individual standards for their sex. So that's including physical fitness, body fat standards, which is really fun. If you are a man but got to be seen as a woman, you have a higher body fat that you're allowed. You have to be lower if you're going to stick to the man, because men tend to have lower body fat in general. So the standards are a little bit different there. Bathroom and shower facilities, uniform and grooming standards, because actually I've even seen like a TikTok of a military person, at least purported military person, and he was literally wearing lipstick. And he was a guy, he was a transformer, I think, or else just really flamboyant. I don't know if that'll be allowed anymore. So you do have to subject yourself to the standard requirement. And then here it also says pronoun usage. So when referring to service members, you must reflect their sex as the service member's sex. So in keeping with good order and discipline, it says salutations such as sir or ma'am must reflect an individual's sex. So they're not playing around. They're not playing around here. It's a classification that must be, you can't call the serviceman who's wearing, lipstick and a dress, ma'am. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be wearing lipstick and a dress anymore either. He either will leave or wear the clothing that comports, the uniform and grooming standard for his sex.
Yeah, and some of the ridiculous stuff that was happening was some things like this, which is, so you can have people basically going into female locker rooms, because usually it's not the other way around, by the way. And how is a Navy sailor supposed to feel safe on that? Or, they're gonna instruct them. That's what you got to do. We got to make sure you got your pronouns in check. Not if you're physically fit or you're able to do anything like that, but that you're you use your proper pronouns, or that people were just going into military service for this kind of operations and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true, because the military was providing the transition surgeries, not just, even supporting it. They were paying. Those surgeries are really expensive. They're not cheap. We're not talking 50,000. We're talking, six figures, and on top of it, a lot of maintenance care. So they were providing transition care for those who've had it, and also giving them the money, for surgery. So that was a lot of the motivation. And the thing is, though, Fletcher, too, you really, as someone was saying who's in military service, who was talking about this, it's hard to deploy people like this. So they're not really combat ready ever, because they need medicine to survive, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they have to take a lot of a protocol, hormone therapy. They also need a lot of other kind of therapies oftentimes. I don't want to get gross, but like there's infections that can happen a lot with these kind of surgeries. They're not easily maintained. You can't go put these people in battle in a place where there may not be refrigeration, where you can't necessarily get somebody to help you. And not to mention, there's some mental health issues that go along with these kinds of surgeries that, I think part of the protocol, I'm not certain of this, but I would imagine part of the protocol is an ongoing kind of counseling. And that's not unheard of, because, for example, people who I've had coworkers and friends, actually, some close friends, have the weight loss surgery. So before Ozempic, everybody, there was, bariatric, surgeries. And those are also very emotional surgeries, because people have, a new body. And even though they're not trying to change their sex or their gender, they had an extreme loss of weight all at once, not over, time that would typically happen naturally, like say through diet and exercise. But, they had the surgery and they wake up, they have, a lot going on. And so part of the protocol is they have to, first of all, be, psychologically evaluated for that surgery. And I bet you they do a better job of that than they do for these transitions. And even after they've had the weight loss surgery, I think for a while you have to still go for some kind of follow-up psychiatric care, because it's very difficult to accept what's going on. And of course, there's a lot to be maintained. So people who have those surgeries, they can't eat a lot. So that's something emotional too, because they usually make the stomach so tiny that if they eat more than I had a coworker, he has to eat literally ounces of food at a time. He has to eat over the day to get enough calories, and still they're required for their lives to take some serious vitamins, because they can't eat enough food to get the nutrients they need, because they made the stomach so tiny. And then they have this loose skin or whatever. In other words, you can't deploy somebody who has anything, as someone said, anything more than basically food and water as a need, and sleep. because
No,
there's and even that can be hard to come by, right? If you're out in combat, like think about Vietnam, people out there in the jungles, literally fighting, or any other kind of war that's really serious on the ground, trench warfare. There's not always water. There's sometimes MREs. There may not be, that. Think about it. They usually have that, I guess, in canteens or whatever. But you can imagine extreme situations. You
Right.
definitely can't be out there trying to get your estrogen, trying to get your
Yeah,
testosterone,
you gotta
trying to
get
talk to some counselor on the phone, trying to go somewhere. I mean, you can't get a satellite phone to talk to your therapist. It's not going to happen.
yeah, which is it's an extreme situation for extreme people. But you had this kind of stuff happening in the military where it was all done basically for show. I mean, these people are not, um, God bless them. You got to pray for them. This is not a healthy behavior for somebody who's taken, medication, the medication that could change your mood, your reaction time, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just this is the kind of stuff that
I
they
mean,
weren't.
even needing it. I mean, honestly, you really can't. You're not really combat ready if you need, Ritalin. I mean, it's not just picking on them. I mean, there's a lot of people who are not able to serve in the military, at least in active duty, who are deployable. And I think, like maybe some people are in non-combat roles, but I think the idea of the military is that everyone should be considered to have to go. If there were a war and it's all hands on deck, you just can't have someone you can't have these guys or girls. It's just it's too much going on. Look at that. I mean, I also think it makes them a target. I think it
Yeah.
would be really bad. It's one of the reasons I think women should not be in combat roles. I think from what I'm told, they can be targeted in other countries, who don't have respect for women and don't see them in those roles and will be taking advantage of them. I think the same thing could happen with this. You have more of a liability than, but I guess the military is taking the position. If they're making them leave the military, then Fletcher, they're not in any role, combat, deployable or not, they have to go. So
Yeah, and
I
that's the
guess,
thing. So I
yeah.
guess
So that I don't
if
know.
you don't
I don't know. Is that
conform,
a little harsh? Is that harsh?
well, that's what I was kind of thinking, because to me I felt like, is this legal? Is this not legal? I guess we'll find out.
It's a
Uh,
little harsh.
to see what's going on, especially for people that have gone through whatever procedure, the
I think I
procedure
would
of the
probably take it
procedures.
on a case by case basis if it were me. I don't know if the military is able to do a case by case basis. I certainly understand if they have the idea, look, we can't do it. Look, you're male or female. If you can't check that box, then get out. And
Right.
that's the end of it, because we don't have the capability. But I guess ideally, still ideally, but also still following the direction of the president, would maybe just check in with each person. Everybody's different. There might be some people that are, an asset and you don't have to worry about them. And then others who like that picture you showed, I'm sorry, I wouldn't trust any of them in a fight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just stopping this kind of shenanigans.
Because that's
Because
shenanigans.
this
What are we
is just
looking at? What is
shenanigans.
this
These
here?
are some like military people that they consider themselves they're like like a part animal or something like that, and the other one is the fellow who's now a lady supposedly, but
At the upper left, right?
yeah.
I
So
forgot the name. But
yeah,
I
I
do know
forgot their
that.
names, but
Is it Rachel Levine, right?
yeah, I believe
And
so.
when you go back, because the black guy at the lower left, I believe is he supposed to be a general or something?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think the picture, the reason why it looks so grotesque is that it was during the coup,
Yeah,
and I guess he was maybe meeting troops, and it was like so over the
overwrought.
top, because
Yeah,
I know everybody was concerned about the coup, but
yeah,
it's like, you know what? You have to have some dignity and some kind of courage, and you're walking out there not just masked up, but also with the full visor.
yeah.
It's like
It's
people,
just too much.
and you're a little overweight, so you're wondering, are you really keeping the way you're supposed to? Because in the military, you're not supposed to
Yeah, you're
ever let
supposed to be
yourself
fit,
go.
right?
You're supposed to be fit, and he doesn't. I mean, there are big people, but he doesn't come off like he's a big guy only. It's like, it's a little bit like you're not doing your PT, man.
Yeah.
Which Hegseth is really all about. Like when he's been meeting troops, he's like, let's go do PT together. I don't want to go to parties and cocktail parties. I don't want any of the fun social events. Let's be about what we're here for. Let's do PT PT together. That's what I consider fun. Now, the one on the lower right, I have no idea what that is. Is that a dog costume? And the one upper one, too, I have no idea what that
it's
is.
part of that whole fetish where people consider themselves to be animals.
And so they're
or something.
wearing United States military uniforms, wearing face things
Yeah.
of animals. That's so improper.
That's the kind of stuff, like, since this is the extreme that
Well, Lady Jen said that she had a gastric bypass surgery. There you go. So I told you it's not uncommon at 19. That's a hard age to do it.
That is
in 1997. That's a hard age to do it, honestly, because I've had friends who've done it. Now I know Lady Jen has done it, and it wasn't easy. That, I wasn't as close to this friend as another friend of mine was, who was helping her after the surgery, because afterward you have to do a lot of like wound care type things. Like she had to like help her wrap her tummy or something, and like taking a shower was really, really hard and painful. It's a lot to it. But she was getting help from our mutual friend, and it was just sounded like a lot. And then you had to also obviously be really good about the vitamins. And I've heard people who are not good about the vitamins, you can really relapse. And then there's also people who can, gain all the weight back, or maybe not all of it, but they might gain because they can stretch the stomach still. I mean, it could be there are complications. So anyway, it's for people usually who are really mature. So that tells us, Lady Jen, you're a very mature lady, very put together, because they would not have allowed you, I don't think, to have it without having done a profile to see that you could
see if
handle
you're
it.
able to do it. But you know,
it's stressful.
Much ladies, you mature quick. And I mean, at 19, I was probably getting into fights and a lot of fights.
You were not mature enough to get any kind of serious elective surgery. Yeah.
Heck no. I was brawling. It's like if there was a fight, I would get in it.
Oh boy.
Well, there's good money though. You make good money in those fights.
You're telling us too much.
Sorry. Hey, David Glenn, say howdy, folks.
Hello, Sir Glenn.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's good to have you.
It's good to have you. It's great to have you. But yeah, it's just been like a very interesting kind of development, shall we say, on that whole military. But another development that's coming up is like half of our family members are sending us this flyer. And the funny thing is that I think they don't understand our reply to it, right? Because it's like, we don't really care. It's like, all this stuff sounds great. I mean, what are they really saying?
Why don't you explain? You're not saying that much, Fletcher. Tell us what it's all about.
Sorry. So this whole blackout, I'm posting Skinny Al Sharpton.
You have to explain what a blackout. Just explain the whole thing.
Okay, so the blackout, it's supposed to mean that you don't buy any goods. You don't basically spend black money on anything that's not a necessity. And they're called in a blackout. And a lot of people are jumping on this. It's supposed to be tomorrow. First day.
Are you serious? I didn't even know.
No, yeah, it's supposed to be Friday tomorrow.
I gotta buy stuff tomorrow.
You're not supposed to buy stuff.
I gotta buy stuff.
This is, of course, Skinny Al Sharpton jumping in it, because a lot of people are doing it and talked about it, and he put out his. I mean, I could bring up other flyers. There's a lot of other people also saying the same thing. But basically is 24-hour blackout on Friday, February 28th, from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. This is the first step to counter the attack on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which, like we covered like not too long ago, doesn't really affect, the people that you think it affects.
I don't know. It just seems very cringe to me.
What? No, they gotta don't make any purchases. Don't shop online or in stores. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy, no McDonald's or other fast food stores, no gas, no major retailers. Don't use credit cards or debit cards for non-essential spending. Try buy all you need before Friday, February 23rd. But if necessary, like there's always a but.
Here's the thing. I don't understand what Target owes me or what they do to me. I already don't go there. I mean, I don't understand why it matters to them what they do, because they're their own company. They're a private company. Let them do what they want. I mean, honestly, it's not like the old days where if a school, to me, Skinny Al Sharpton is still living off the fumes of 1955. Like, it's
Right.
not like back then where literally you be in communities as a person, a Black person. I mean, talk to our family members of that age, right? That's going to be our parents and grandparents. And there was nowhere else to shop. And you might go to a place that the policy was Blacks had to go literally to the back. They say you will serve you, but you have to go through the shop entrance, stay over there till we get to you. You can't come. And they did these it's documented. You can talk to people about it, but also it's actually in history books and pamphlets is written there. I mean, you can, it's easy enough to find this information if you want. I could see then you're like, you know what, as some of them did, I'm going to boycott it. I'm not going to put up with this. We're not going to put up with it. In fact, one of the most famous and successful boycotts is the Montgomery bus boycott. Okay. And that was, I believe, in the late 50s. And, Reverend Martin Luther King was involved with it. He gets a lot of credit for it, which I guess is fair, but there were a lot more people who were involved. But that's where you kind of had Rosa Parks, who refused to get up. And that was kind of a staged, because they knew they wanted to do this, because at the time they would not let Blacks sit in the front of the bus. They had to sit in the back. And people were like, we're paying our money the same as everyone else. Why can't we sit wherever we want? It's just meant to give us a badge of inferiority. And everyone was tired of it. And if there were no seats in the back, you just had to stand, even though there were plenty of empty seats in the front. And so they were done. So she sat in the front, got arrested, as you know, Rosa Parks. And that was the catalyst for this very successful boycott that lasted over a year, in which there was all these coordinated efforts to have people all stick to it. And to be honest, the Montgomery buses lived off the money of Blacks. They used the buses more than anyone, and it crippled them. They wanted to keep up, the principle that, they were for, white now, white forever, white supremacy forever, whatever they were saying at the time. But it didn't work, because they were almost going to go out of business. And so they relented and say, fine, sit where you want. You paid your fare. And that honestly is what integrated the buses. It made them. And it was a very successful boycott. But think about it. That was a very different thing. That was a matter of dignity. And it was a matter of necessity. A lot of the people needed to go to the buses to go to the store, to go to work. And the churches were so important, because they were literally renting cars and helping people get rides and walking together and doing things for that whole year, like a year and change. Until finally the bus was like, fine, you guys, you won. They may not have said it that way, but they won. But how can you compare something noble like that and sensible? Why would a business make people who are your patrons feel like they're less than? That's different than what I think they want Target to do. I don't know what they want Target to do. What I think they want is for Target to not make any choices they want for what works for them. It's not like if you go to Target, they say, oh, if you're Black, you got to go through a side entrance, or you can't purchase the same way everyone else does. Well, we let other people use credit cards, but you have to use cash. I mean, there's nothing that honestly affects your life at Target based on whatever policy decisions they say they're making in the back door. I mean, if they're saying, like, we are not going to now give a preference to Latinos, Blacks, or women in hiring, if that affects you only if you're looking for a job at Target. I mean, if you're trying to, I want you to explain it to me, Fletcher, because I'm not understanding what the outrage is here with them, or Costco, which was another just disaster. People like Costco. Why are you picking on Costco?
No. Costco was good. They did a buy-in for Costco. This is stuff. No, they don't. You can't buy anything.
I don't know what you plan on doing. And if you sitting on your butt and ain't doing nothing, you need to get out and get whatever the hell you need. Because tomorrow ain't no Black people shopping. No Black, brown people shopping tomorrow.
No Black, brown people
heard
shopping
that?
tomorrow.
Black, brown, no
people
shopping tomorrow.
We ain't got time for it.
Got time for it.
Show and prove. Show your ass. If you know damn well people out here playing with our damn pockets, you don't even let your cousin hold $5 and won't give up a dime for shit. So if you could put your cousin out for $5 you could put out all these damn corporate ass businesses for 24 hours. Let's make it happen. Stop fucking around and playing with me. I damn it repeat.
So that's what it is. We're just putting them out
Well, I don't
because
know though. I would like to see how successful this is. Are people really? But listen, here's the good thing. I think anybody. We started talking about Lent, and honestly, there are some Catholic people who during Lent will do things like this, not because they're trying to boycott, but because they think it's a good spiritual discipline to just say,
right,
you know what, I won't shop this whole week, or I won't shop the whole 40 days. Whatever I bought in the house is what we eat, everything in the cabinet. And then right before Easter, you buy food.
right.
You say, I'm just going to pray and fast. I'm going to, not get any clothes. All the toiletries we have, we'll just make that work. If we have to start using baking soda for deodorant, that's what we're going to do. We're
Right, you
not
make it
buying
work.
anything, and we
Yeah.
save the money. I think it's a good discipline. I think Black people do spend too much money a lot of times on a lot of foolishness, and we do put money in people's pockets a lot. We tend to like nice things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being frugal. I think that's a good thing. If that's what can be accomplished tomorrow, then yeah, that's good. Put money in your pocket. If you save even $20 tomorrow, $5,
Yeah.
start doing it every Friday. Hey, I'm on board. Let's do it every Friday, because I don't care. But I just think the idea
I mean, it's funny
of
because
a DEI boycott is not something that motivates me. I'm not interested in that. But I mean, the idea like let's not buy for a day, that's lovely. Yeah, let's try to see what we can do with our money if we stop like going to Starbucks every day. I like that. Let's do that.
but the one that I do feel like it's a little demeaning because you're bringing out, Reverend Martin Luther King on it, but it's like this is so basically you're just if you can't discriminate, it's all right to do it.
If you
It's
can't
like
get
if
your
you
way, it's
you
like
can't get your
Skinny
way,
Al
then
Sharpton. You want to be so important. No offense to you, I like you, but you want to be so important. If they don't just topple down when you come in, that's it. We're gonna boycott.
right.
But that's not the way business is done anymore. This is like not 1955, 1965. You can talk to people. You would get much further if you would just say, hey, I want to make some appointments. I want to hear what are your interests? What's
Yeah,
going
what's your
on?
solutions?
What's your solution? Why do you feel? A lot of people are doing the same thing because the direction is clear from the administration. DEI is dead. It's over. It is. It's really over.
Right.
And so you can be out here crying and whining about it, or you can say, what's next?
No,
I think the attitude of, okay, fine, what's next? Let's talk to you, Target. Are you really saying X? Are you really saying you don't want this? Are you saying, and they might say, well, no, Al, okay, well, let's see what we can do. Is there a way that doesn't defy, the directive that still will help my people out? I mean, if he did stuff like that, he would get so much more respect. But he doesn't. He wants to do things that don't work, that used to work maybe in the 50s when there was a great unity among people and it was a real moral harm. It was clear to see that this was wrong. Now nobody sees this as necessarily all the way wrong. I mean, you may not like, first of all, we don't like Target. Target is not for the people. Now, I'll be honest, I think they have really cute things. So sometimes I sneak in there. Now, I did do the boycott that James Dobson, Focus on the Family, did call for, like eons ago, because back then you mentioned it before, Fletcher, where they were not saying Merry Christmas. They had everything in the store said holiday trees. They wouldn't say even Christmas trees. We're like, why are we going to you to buy stuff and you don't even have respect to call the holiday what it's called? So I joined everybody for that boycott. I didn't go for years, and then I realized I didn't need anything from Target. Why was I going? So even when it was over, I didn't go, but I would go occasionally because they do have really cute things.
No.
But as far as this is concerned, I mean, to me, it's not very clearly delineated. What is it? Like before, I knew you hate Christians, but what do they show me that says they hate blacks or brown? Do you see anything?
Well, they're not doing what they were told to do by the Democrat overlords. That this DEI that's as we mentioned before. I mean, it literally a minuscule amount helps so-called communities of color. It's mostly like rainbow mafia stuff, and I think that this doesn't. It's almost like a shakedown, right? You're almost trying to say, we want you to do a government program or instigate this program. This was not like, with boycotts. I mean, it was like, if you are taking rights away from us, but show me the rights that you're taking away. You can't say that discriminating against somebody based on a race, it's a right, because this is what those programs have done, and I don't see how this is helping. If he's saying, you know what, we're going to help the community, only shop black. I've seen those, like, shop only black business. I fully support that. Whatever you want to do in that kind of sense. But I'm on to the side of every Friday, maybe, you should have almost like a let from it. And just, how, as Catholics, we don't eat meat on Friday. Maybe go cold turkey. I'm all for this. Black community, brown community, all of our communities, let's go ahead and just do it fast.
I think what you're saying is kind of like enlarging the point that I made. Like, if you do it, like, keep at it, like, save money and think about how in your communities, and you're starting with your own personal domestic community, which is your home, how you can change your life by not shopping on one day a week. Think about what that can do, or even a longer period of time. I guess when you expounded upon it, it made me think of something else, Fletcher, which is, you know what? The problem with this plan is that it's negative.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's something positive you're trying to achieve. You're just trying to, like, I'm going to try to hurt you because I think you're doing the wrong thing. That negative energy is not good. It's not productive. There's a big difference. In St. Francis de Sales is the one. People don't realize this, but it was St. Francis de Sales who came up with the first ever use of the expression, you get more flies with honey than vinegar. Everyone uses it now, but it started with him. He was a saint and a very good writer. And so the very first time we ever see that phrase in print is with St. Francis de Sales, who was actually a really good orator and stood up for the Catholic Church when there was a lot of heresies at the time, a lot of debates with some Protestant groups and saying, the Catholic Church is no good. And he really got a lot of people to stay with us or to come back from these kind of little sects that don't even really exist anymore. You won't even know what they are. Okay. It's not like the Baptist or something. It's like something else. And he was known to, really know how to persuade people to do things. I think the problem here is, this one is very much vinegar. What Sharpton is doing is not going to attract the flies. It's not honey, because, back in the day when you had people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all those things, those kinds of boycotts and stuff like that, these people were really not negative. They were seeing themselves as martyrs. In fact, many of them were Christian people, very, very devout. They had a lot of firm faith. Think about it. A lot of things, it was like a very active church that would go out and do these demonstrations and so forth. They were prepared to be arrested. They were prepared to be beaten. They were prepared. They said they offered it to the Lord because, God does not approve of this kind of hatred. And it's not just for themselves. It was for, the people that they were protesting. I mean, think about what Martin Luther King said. He was like, you know what, we're not free, but neither are you. I think there was a positivity about that, a kind of honey, a kind of, a strength. I'm not saying that whole movement was without fault, because that would be untrue. You're dealing with humans. But I think there was a kind of energy that was kind of neat. This one is dead. I mean, I'm sorry, the flyer is dead. The flyer has no life to it. I mean, what is that? Looks like something your kid.
This one's more fancy.
Okay. Yeah. What's the rabbit though?
I have no clue.
What's the rabbit?
I have no clue.
It's a very pretty image. You're right. It has a little bit more. It's definitely not as low energy as the last one.
Yeah, it's not as low energy.
Hey, you know what? This is to me, look, let's take out the word boycott. I think this would have been a much smarter move. Look at this wonderful poster. I love the colors. Take out the word boycott. And if you just said, look, people, my people, first of all, everything's expensive. Inflation's through the roof. We have Doge out here trying to save money. I have a project for us. Let's do the same. And then let's use this money to do something good in our communities. I'm on board.
Right?
Let's
How
use
hard is
this
that?
money. That would be awesome. Like, listen, we don't give a crap about Target. Who gives it? Who
Good.
stakes their claim on Target or
Right?
Costco? No. Say we're gonna pool this money. Even if you don't pool it, if it's just pooled in your household, go on vacation. Get your mama something nice. Buy your kid a set of encyclopedias. Nobody does that anymore. I'm dating myself. Put together a local school. Over time, this money adds up. Let's put it into a small bank and then see what your community, maybe you're going to have a rec center. They gave so many of these centers away to the migrants, so to speak. Right. There's areas of New York City where kids had parks they're no longer able to go to. Chicago, there's rec centers that are just closed because they were used for, quote, migrants. Say, look, we're going to rent a place for our kids to play ball. You could do so many things. All of us pool our money and don't buy. I love it. That's it. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at 18 billions for shady contracts for these things that are empty, that was supposed to be for not helping people out. So I mean, there is stuff out there that you could do. There is
First of all, I don't think this is I don't know what this economic boycott is, but I don't get the feeling this is for our people. There's nothing about this image that makes me think it's being marketed to Black and brown people. I think this is probably marketed to millennial, white millennial and Zoomer people. It looks like a kind of like in the old days we would have said yuppies. I mean, that's what it looks like. This is a kind of like Banksy, kind of Keith Haring, esque image. And, it doesn't say anything about DEI on it. So I think there's something else going on. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see, Fletcher. But do you have enough stuff? Are we not shopping tomorrow? What's going on? Are we?
Well, I already shopped today.
You tell me about this late at night.
I already shopped today. We got groceries. I don't know what you're complaining. We got groceries. I mean, we're fine. But I hope you don't go to Target, because I hate Target, and you always spend too much money. That's my take on it, is that every time you go to Target, it's a lot of money spent. So I'm going on that one. But
I think
let's see
we can come back and see how this thing goes.
Yes. But for now, I'm going to chew down some trees. Let's see what this homeboy does. What's he doing? Is there music on this?
The sound.
Let's see. Can you hear it? Oh. He's just checking it out like, what's up, fool?
No.
Your tree.
No, listen, watch him. So what they do, beavers, they pause because they don't want the tree to fall on them. So they eat a bit and then see. And if it's too quiet, they know, okay, it's good. It's not falling down. But if they start hearing the creaking, they know to get out the way. Aren't they smart?
That's so cool.
Is he cute?
He's like, hold up. Wait a minute.
Do I hear anything?
Yeah. All right. Let me take another bite here.
Isn't there something? I mean, look at what God made this little creature. He can actually cut down this tree. And of course, dam up the river because, forget rivers.
Forget them rivers.
Forget them rivers.
You need them dang.
And I mean, people have
you don't
seen
need
them,
the dang rhythms, the dang rivers anyway.
Taking the tree like by the leaf and like pulling them into the river to dam it. So, aren't they cute?
They're super cute. I gotta give it to you. That was cute. So the funny thing is, because we kind of try to end it with a cute video, because it's just uplifting, because it's like nature. But thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We had Admiral T, we had Latino Slan, Lady Jen, we had Sir David Glenn in the house. And if you're catching us on the replay, please leave a comment. We really, I mean, we try to reply to every comment. And if you can, please subscribe. We're inching, I think, on that 1,000 subscribers pretty soon. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. So maybe that could be one of your penance to subscribe to the channel.
Oh, well, hopefully it's not a penance.
Oh, hopefully not a penance. Please remember our charity of the week, Hermits of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. They're really great, and send them to your intentions. Miracles do happen. We thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us, and check us out. I think we do have a bunch of stories that we wanted to get to, so we're gonna be putting out some of those in video format. So hit the notification bell so you'll be able to get our latest videos. And with that, we bid you adieu.
Adieu, adieu, adieu.
Adieu.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de Deus.